So, Connor, I want to first ask you this question. I don't necessarily know if you want to answer right off the bat, but we can like wait and answer it. But do you think the Chiefs are the most complete team in the NFL?
NFL, no. AFC, yes. I think the most complete team in the NFL right now is the Buccaneers. Last year, even I was actually impressed with their defense last year, and the only reason their defense didn't shine more last year was because Jameis Winston was throwing 30 interceptions.
Right.
So their defense last year was also good. Shocker, Todd Bowles is a very good coordinator.
Hmm.
And he's coached up their defense really well. From being a laughing stock, I think even just a short 2 years ago, they were like the last
Yeah.
place defense, and then he came in and transformed them. So he's done a great job. And Tom Brady's playing lights out. I mean, like people were talking about his decline last year.
Hmm.
He has come back strong and with a vengeance this year, and they're adding Antonio Brown. So I
Right.
don't really see a lot of holes in their team. We'll see how they play from here on out. It might just be that they've caught a hot streak, but I think they are very complete. I think DVOA has them as by far the best team right now. So,
Hmm.
but I think in the AFC, the only other contender, we saw the Chiefs beat the Ravens pretty handily, and even though they are getting, Yannick Ngakwe, I'm not particularly afraid of that personally. I think Ngakwe is a bit overrated. I saw a good Twitter thread from Brandon Thorne about how his sacks numbers this year are kind of from not quality sacks, from coverage sacks, which he'll get on the Ravens too. But
Hmm.
the Chiefs just beat the Ravens defense handily without him. It was everybody else was there, so I don't know if he adds enough to move the needle there. But the only other team that's as complete as the Chiefs is the Steelers.
Hmm. And that
Um,
kind of goes into what I wanted to ask you next. I think that you were about to say it anyway, but how do you think they stack up against the Steelers?
Pittsburgh's interesting in that one Big Ben was out the whole last year, the whole year last year, the whole last year last year with that injury. And he's come back and he's looked good. But we did see in this Titans game, he did throw 3 interceptions.
Right.
And you would think that with their offense is pretty like, well, it's stacked kind of, and that they
Hmm.
have they're pretty deep they're really deep at wide receiver with Chase Claypool. Their
Yeah.
running back room's really solid. Their offensive line's good again, and Big Ben's just playing okay. You would think he would play better if it was old Big Ben than how he's playing right now.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I'm necessarily afraid of him, unless the only reason to be afraid of him is you're afraid of the whole offense,
Yeah.
which is definitely a thing to worry about because holy crap, their wide receiver core I think is one of them probably top 3 in the league if they're
Mhm.
all healthy because Deontay Johnson's been struggling with injuries. But
Of course.
so I think on that side, if the Chiefs have their full complement at cornerback, I think the Chiefs defense actually matches up pretty well with their offense, and that I think the cornerbacks can hold up. It will definitely be a challenge, and Chris Jones would need to have a nice game for sure against them. On the defensive side, which is where everybody talks about the Steelers because their defense has been very scary, and they're definitely up to the standard that people have talked about them about. However, I don't think their secondary is as good as people think. Outside of Joe Hayden, they have a longtime chief, Steven Nelson,
Hmm.
who I have seen Steeler fans talk about. And let's just say this year it's not been positive things. He has regressed from his good year last year for them, and he has not been playing very well. Outside of that, they really don't have much at cornerback. And they can be thrown on. It's just a matter of protecting to throw because, of course, they have TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. At safety, of course, they have Minka Fitzpatrick. So he's always going to be a good ball hawk for them. However, they
Yep.
did also lose their linebacker. It's not Devin Bush. Yeah, Devin Bush.
Mhm.
It's two Devins, Devin Bush and Devin White from the same draft class. They did lose Devin Bush to an ACL tear.
Yep.
So I think their defense is not as scary as people think. We saw the Titans score on them pretty well. And they didn't have really much success running the ball, but when push comes to shove, the Chiefs' bread and butter is throwing it.
Of course.
So if the Chiefs can figure out how to deal with 4-man rushes, um, at least more consistently than they are right now, I think they have a really good shot against Pittsburgh.